So I wanted to talk about holy sorrow, and I've given many classes on it. I have to use my phone. I have some notes. Um, I want to read some things about holy sorrow from the early church, way early on. I thought you would like to hear it. I think it will help you understand the mourning that Jesus talks about. Blessed are those who mourn, and why the monks say once someone finds mourning, they never cease. They never cease. And why that applies to us seasonally, forever, although as lay people who aren't monks, it may not apply unceasingly. And I say that because we're out doing service in the world. I've got to bring a smile to someone's face. I've got to bring joy and love to them. When my daughter was young, I had an especially grave responsibility to bring joy to her life. I can't always show the face of mourning out in the world and do my job as a Christian. So I'm not a monk. And this is the difference. This is why I had to mourn to come down from my vacation, which was kind of holy. It was kind of holy. I mean, I had profound meditation, other things spiritual things that happened the whole time. And yet I had to come down out of that and mourn it, to get down into the holy sorrow of the monks. And I had to do that in order to keep going further in. So, okay, this is some sayings. If any of them sound a little too strict, just remember you're not a monk. You do have to show up for your wife and friends and bring some love, to them. Even your kitty, if you got a cat, you've got a role to play. And so for me, it's like I'm doing that. I'm serving God. And then when I'm alone again, then I can go back down into deeper. And the fluidity of that is sometimes where some mourning has to take place. And I think, I don't want to go down and do that. I'm having too much fun. Okay. Mourning, according to God, is a sorrow of the soul, a disposition of grieving, and grieving of heart, which unceasingly seeks after that which it thirsts. See how it's tied to God. Just as fire cannot be hidden, so mourning of heart cannot remain unknown. Mourning is a golden spur in a soul, which is stripped of all attachment. The soul has put on blessed mourning, has become like one who is wounded and yet feels no pain. I want you to hear that. Holy sorrow, not egoic sorrow. The one who mourns has escaped laughter. Hear that. Hear that seasonally. The one who mourns has escaped laughter. The soul that is truly mourned no longer trusts in itself. Mourning is a sorrow that refuses consolation. The soul who has obtained mourning will never cease to pray. Mourning is a sign of forgiveness. The tears that come after baptism are greater than baptism itself, though it is rash to say so openly. So he's talking about it being a second awakening. Someone finds the path often very so happy about it, so joyous. The next stage. Blessed is he who has obtained such mourning as never sleeps. Okay. So now that's from a monastic. So they have a different freedom to get in that mode and never come out. I don't have that freedom in my life. I have other means of serving. But if I ever lose easy access to morning, I have lost something great and needed. And so I wanted to talk about that because I know that some people have not attained that state or fear it or fall out of it if they're not extremely careful, and it's just gone. And let's talk about some of the reasons why. So first of all, let's just talk about lamenting honestly. Because, see, what spurred on this notion of doing this class is I watched a video on YouTube about, it was a Christian content creator who was interviewing an Orthodox priest. And I wouldn't say this characterizes all Orthodox priests and all Christian content creators, but it was at least a simple caricature of them. This was honest, though it was real. So you had this priest who was talking about humility. And the guy was asking about humility and how to be Orthodox. And there are cousins as close to us as you can get. We can safely listen to them. They know the way to sainthood. The priest said, first of all, if you're asking me what it means to be Orthodox, he said, you're asking the wrong person. He said, I'm a heathen, and I live like one. So already two worlds have collided. There's no communication now. The content creator has no idea what this guy, first of all, he's horrified. I can see he now looks down on the priest. This poor guy lives like a heathen. He said, you live like a heathen, you're a priest. He was shocked. The priest said, don't you? Don't you? And he said, this guy's very fit, buff. He said, no. He said, I go to bed at 8 p.m. every night. I get up early. I eat only healthy foods, and I hit the gym every morning. I don't live like a heathen at all. So the rest of the conversation went about like you'd think. Completely different languages. Completely different understanding. You could sense the pride coming off this guy. He's in the brosphere and he's been told what it means to be good, and good means you eat healthy and go to the gym, and now they're all freaking great and they'll tell you any day. They get their beards groomed, they're looking good, and this is where he was coming. It's all pride and sin and no knowledge whatsoever about that pride and sin. No knowledge. You might feel sorry for this poor priest if you didn't know better. So that's what's made me think about it. So, okay, how come this priest, much more advanced, I don't know how advanced, doesn't matter, much more advanced, how can he be in mourning, but this guy goes every day into the world in triumph and victory? How? You know, but how? See, it has to do with the quote I read about how mourning is, holy sorrow is tied to Christ and God's goodness. If you're so far away from God's goodness that you look good when you look in the mirror, of course you walk around in victory every day. Why wouldn't you? You're looking hot. Looking good. Doing great. If your understanding of Christ is so impoverished, that you're looking shiny in the morning. Of course, you walk around in victory. Of course. That's easy. That's easy. I could do that 3 months into my path. All day long. Okay, so you know what I'm saying. Then, so why do people not attain holy sorrow? What gets in the way? I thought I'd just name a few things. The first one I'll say is just too far away from God. Too far away to even notice. Just doing their own thing, man. And I want to say that this can be true at stage 3, where like doing your own thing is like my vacation. Really deep meditations and tons of joy. Well, it's great for vacation, by the way. There's no sin there. I should have been like that the whole time. But if I live like that, I'm done growing. That's all. Just done. I'm done. It's over. So you could just be too far away to even be deeply sorrowful for the thing you crave but do not have, for the holiness you want but cannot attain yet. It could just be that you're far enough away from the light that there's no chance to have holy sorrow. There'd have to be some holiness there. So think of that's one way, just too distant, too far away. And it doesn't have to be direct sin. It doesn't. Remember, the third stage shouldn't exist, say the saints. It only exists because people get stuck there. In the good life God's purification brings. The order, all of it. And they just get lost in that order and that pattern and that good, and they don't grow. So it could just be that. It doesn't even have to be some direct sin. Okay, hold on now. Yeah, the pattern, I wanted to talk about the pattern, just the routine of it. The good routine you have is death to God. I'm not saying go change any one thing. I don't know what you should change or not change. It's very individual, but people get attached to their patterns and it becomes an idol. It just becomes an idol. They know exactly what they're doing every day. Monday is this, Tuesday. They know exactly what they're doing. There's no way God could reach them. They're already got it all planned out. It's all planned out. And there's patterns you can't get out of. You have to go to work. There are some things you must do. But then a lot of it, that's agenda. And that agenda is your will. And it may be fine most of the time, but the rigidity of it can't shift on a dime. Someone wants to have lunch with you. There's a chance the Holy Spirit's involved. Can't go because you got your pattern. It's dead. Dead. That's dead spiritually. That's living by the law, just your own law. Okay. So kind of just getting stuck in your own world, basically. And then this is the one I want to talk about better over time. I'm not good at it. And it happened to me quietly, and I never made a big deal out of it. I've tried to give some classes on it, but I don't think I do a good job. But, we became Christian. We supposedly give our lives to Christ. And that means that we know who Jesus is. Jesus is God incarnate. That means when we read what he says, we're not reading an opinion. We're reading what's true. And I want you to know that it took me a number of years to realize many of my a priori assumptions about life were wrong and anti-Christian. but I had held them so long that I didn't notice. They just grew together, Christ and my other ideals. And so one of the blocks to holy sorrow is just simply not having a Christian worldview on right and wrong, on morality, on what a life is about. What is life for? And, I've gone on and on about how we get a bunch of that from our parents. Our family systems are so dangerous because, they pass values on to us. And then we have them before we have a choice about them. And they're often incongruous with Christian worldview. But they don't even have to be incongruous. They could just be measured differently, if that makes sense. I wanted to give examples. I'm afraid to give some examples. I'm actually afraid to give this class. I'm going to give this one tonight, but I could go further, but I think I'll get punched. A little. I do. I'm a little afraid. It's so funny. I'm going to give that up and do it because that's cowardice. But just think of just one example I could find. If you value justice and love, you are very Christian. That's very Christian. But if you value justice over love, it's profoundly sinful. And if you have love, but not enough justice, it is profoundly sinful. It's not just the values we hold. The degree and order in which we hold them has been given us by Christ. So a world that is justice over love is cruel and harsh. Cruel and harsh. It may want to carry out some good in some kind of activity in the world, but without love, it will do it with harshness and cruelty. But a society that's valuing love not tempered by justice will also allow all kinds of evil to grow among it and do nothing about it. I think I see this everywhere, both sides of it. And we're supposed to be taking the Christian tradition, learning it, analyzing our beliefs and finding out what's incongruous and changing them. I know you guys are, and I am, but I think a lot of people aren't. And I think none of us are well, even when we're trying. Because you could learn it all well and then just try to implement that through works, and it wouldn't be the same as if Christ did it in us. But just think of those two values, justice and love. And I think both of those are really prominent in the world right now. Too much love, too much. It's not real love because love is tempered by justice, or it isn't love. So it's this lollygaggy love. But then also the cruelty, too much justice, no love. It's going on everywhere all around us, and it's just warped values not given by Christ. And, we pick them up in our families, but we also, I think social values too, like sort of social circles that we hang with will have certain biases. And we don't mean to, but we're social creatures, so we sort of allow ourselves and our thinking, like they say, whatever political party you're in is the one you were born with, raised in, like you didn't really choose it. It's like that, religion, they say the same thing about religion a lot. We haven't really chosen these things, but we were sort of raised around a certain way of looking at things. It's a worldview with lots of a priori assumptions underneath. And all of those are probably sinful to some degree. All of them. And so we have to challenge those. And that means we're going to be wrong almost all the time over time as we give ourselves to Christ. And I'll give an example from my life. It's one I might have given before, but it's really the most radical shift I've made from what comes natural to me to what Christ turned me into. And it's just night and day. And it's inconceivable that I got to it. And I only got to it because Christ got me there. It's not what came natural. And then, political values and alignments are another area where people align a certain way, they think a certain way, and there's just certainly a priori assumptions in there that are anti-Christ. It's certainty that they are. And we're supposed to be Christians. And we're supposed to analyze every belief by that light. And we need to be. And then the other big one I've noticed is prior religious associations. I think I was 8 years in when I gave up a certain New Age belief that I had held deeply, and I thought, I am still holding that, and it's 8 years. And it's hurting me. It's holding me back. When I see it in some of my friends, I'm sure they see it in me. I'm not trying to be like the one with all the light, but I've got a friend who's still pretty New Age, and he just has, I can, before I even talk to him, I know if he'll be able to see something or not, based on the blind spot he has from the New Age, which is, you should never, ever judge. And it's judgmental to call something evil. If something is evil, you can't say it, or that is really the true evil, is you can't say something is evil. And so I just know if there's a certain evil in the world, he will have a really hard time defining it and saying it clearly. I know he will. And I've got another very quite advanced friend from the New Age who's the same. He just can't make corrections in the world when there's evil in the world, because he's not supposed to be seeing it, or he's judging. And then, I could just make up I don't have friends that are the other side of it, but they exist, they just can't live and let live. They've always got to be calling out wrong. All the time. Those evil people were going to change the world. And they're often, by the way, the ones who are speaking in the name of Christ, but who are repugnant to me, because there's all kinds of justice and seems to be no love. It just seems to be no love at all in it. It just seems to be the values are inverted. And then I think, well, who's going to lead them? And, it's got to be Jesus. It's got to be us just every day saying, dude, I don't know. Show me the way, because I don't know. And, I can get my hackles up still sometimes and have an opinion, but I don't have those most of the time. I don't carry them. I never carry them into prayer. Never. I don't go into prayer with that stuff. I'm aware if I ever had a strong opinion with someone, I think, in prayer, I think, oh, when will I cease to be so prideful? When? When will I cease to be so self-righteous and sure that I'm right? It's amazing. Oh. So these are values we hold deep down that guide how we think. Inclusiveness is an a priori assumption. It's good to be inclusive, but there are places at which it becomes profoundly sinful to be. There's just a million. I'm just making these up, but there's so many. There's so many. Okay. And I think this should be included in our inventory. You're getting called out by Christ for these tendencies all the time. Before I got into the night, it just turned out that all the values I held highly were the ones I naturally possessed. It's like weird how it was one for one. And then the ones I kind of overlooked or didn't value as much just happened to be the ones that were weak areas for me. And that's just pure self-centeredness. That's what that is. And I think just when I look around, I think that's mostly what I see in people It's just what I see. Whatever comes natural is big, and whatever isn't, they poo-poo away. And that's just not being conformed to Christ and just getting called out all the time for our limitations. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm the one that was so strong on love and tolerance, especially. That was me, just like 100% all the way. Everyone's in, and you know, um, I'm very weak on identifying sin. Very weak on identifying it in myself or others. Very, very, very weak in being able to say something was wrong. Period. Couldn't say it. That was me. And I don't know what I'm like now. I wouldn't say now God fix it all. I'm just saying the initial correction is complete. Then what I have now, I'm assuming they're going to refine and correct some more. I don't think I'm complete, but it's an utter reversal. It's upside down compared to where I was. And I didn't like it. It didn't come natural and it didn't feel right. But it is right. And that's comes from knowing Christ and letting him be the standard instead of, hippie Clint. Hippie Clint. I still like that. I still like it. It's still a friend to me. But just such a small world. Okay. We might be getting close. Okay, other reasons people fail to find holy sorrow is they're just still defensive of their sin. They just don't want it called out. They don't want to see that they're so far away. They're like our Protestant friend in the first caricature of an example I gave. They still are feeling scandalized to find out they're wrong profoundly about something. And that is just it. They're not so much worried about the sin as they are about being called out about it. The pain of it. And I think, I get it. We're all human, and just take it easy, everyone. But think about this one. I can't say clearly. I wish I was a better. Maybe I'll spend more time and try to get some language around this, but boy, you're really kicking against yourself with that one. You're defending the one thing in your life that causes all your suffering. It's like you don't want to hurt, so you don't want to see, and you don't want to admit, and you don't want it called out. You don't want to hurt. So you're trying to save yourself that initial pain of seeing. But then that's the thing standing in the way of union with God. So it is at once protecting you from getting it called out, and at the same time ensuring you suffer forever and are prone to that kind of attack forever. So it's really a heightened kind of insanity, and we all have it to varying degrees, but we get cured of it over time. We get cured of it. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I thought I was going to go on all night. I'm so glad I'm not. Thank goodness. I think thank goodness. So listen, guys. Don't avoid holy sorrow. Don't do that. There's fluidity. I can go into absolute joy. I could see a friend I love and just my heart will glow for 2 days after I see him. That you can have that, but can you move immediately to deep and profound mourning and sorrow for how far away you are from holiness? Are you even close enough to that holiness to miss it? Is your worldview Christian enough that you don't measure up? You know? It, it can't be always sweet. And for us, it can't be always suffering. We have seasons for us. If I'm going to a cashier, it's really important that I see her or him and give them the dignity of being human and care about them. I don't need to have sorrow mourning face on. There was a time I did because I was so addicted to that I had to do it anyway, but they've lifted me out of that and I could be a blessing to people now out in the world. And, I got a waitress, if possible, or waiter, if possible. I'd like them to feel good when I leave. Better. So I'm not going to walk around with sorrow mourning face all day. But I don't have to be far from that to bring joy and love either. Because they're all in God. They're all there in that God power. Just the carelessness of daily life where you just forget to even think about it for hours at a time. You know? Where you forget to be approaching God. And we're not monks, and so some of what they say can harm us. Many writers have spoken of this. One of my favorite Jewish sages spoke of asceticism, especially causing him great bodily harm. He became a great saint. But he said, if you practice asceticism, I'm not saying this is true. It was true for him and some others. He said, if you practice asceticism, you will only harm your health. He said, instead, seek God with fervor, and you'll outgrow all things naturally. I'm not saying that's the way. I'm just saying that's a way. And it balances some of the other monastics we read and listen to. But if they're detaching from all things so that their heart and mind is free to seek God, you must be able to do that perennially in your life. You must be able to go there. You must be able to. And you can't be so far away that it's hard to get there like I a little bit was on my vacation. I just got a little further out there into that just pure joy stuff. It was a great time. I'm not even sorry, but just coming back, I was like, oh, I know where I've got to go. And a little bit, the time from that joy to there was just a little bit uncomfortable because I was attached. So somewhere right in the middle where it's just God's will, and you can do joy when it's joy, and you can do love when it's love, and you can do sorrow when it's sorrow, and you can do serious when it's serious. Somewhere where you've gotten rid of your natural proclivities, the ones you're naturally good at, the ones that really matter. And, I'm a stern person, or I'm a businessy person, I'm a person that gets things done, or whatever you are, and you are, God made you that way, but you can let go of that. Not, and I'm a hippie, I'm the intuitive, spiritual guy. Okay, great. But come on now, Clinton, that's just what you had naturally. We're trying to give you Christ. Christ is more than all of that, more than those things. You're still going to be what you are, but let us give you more. Be open to these other things. Let us deepen you. Let us round you out. And John of the Cross, okay? You wake up in the morning, you can't decide you're having joy. That can't be it. You can't decide you're having sorrow. I've seen people try to force holy sorrow, they just wreck their lives. You can't do it. But you can be completely willing to just do God's will, whatever it is. That you can do. And you can listen for that and find yourself falling into that a bit. And you can accept the burden of that, which it's only a burden because we're so sinful. Okay, that's that.